Okay, you'll give me that I probably have a thing about Glocks, right? I'm Michael Bain, this is Triggered, and today we're all about this particular Glock. This Glock is a G19X, and it was a big deal right around SHOT Show. It's a 19 slide on top of roughly a G17 frame. And it is the gun that Glock submitted to the military for the military trials. Of course, after all hoops things went through, Joe ponies, all that kind of things, eventually that contract went to the SIG 320. However, a lot of people said, boy, I'd really like to handle that Glock, or I'd like to buy that Glock that the military likes so much. It was a close thing with the SIG, and so that's how the Glock 19 came to be. Why are we covering it now instead of January? Well, it's because I ordered it in December, and it arrived last week in July. There is a huge demand for these guns. So I thought what I'd do is let's take you through it. So what do you get when this box finally comes into your FFL and you open it up? Well, obviously, you get this gun, and there are a couple of things about this gun that I want to point out to you. First, if you'll notice, it got a nose job. Isn't that neat? It actually has what I guess you'd call it a bulldog nose, very similar to what you see on a custom gun, say from Billy Wilson or from Gabe Suarez or any of the other number of Glock custom manufacturers or manufacturers of custom Glock slides. It doesn't have that square, boxy look that Gaston Glock loves so very, very much. Secondly, it has an actually good set of sights, which is fairly rare for a Glock, let's be honest. Usually those Glock sights are one of the things that immediately ends up in your spare parts bin. But these have night sights on them. They're really pretty good night sights. I've been shooting this gun, and I've got nothing against the sights. They're good. They're excellent. See, this barrel is a little bit different than what you would see from other Glock barrels. This is their marksman barrel. And that means they changed that polygonal rifling just a little bit. They say it's a more accurate gun out of the box. My experience has been that it's actually a more accurate gun out of the box. Just in working with it on my first break-in rounds, the first couple of hundred break-in rounds, I saw with different, it's as testy as any Glock on ammunition. It runs everything, it shoots groups with certain stuff. This particular case, 124 grain G2 Spears. Loves that stuff. It also has slide release on both sides, your basic ambidextrous slide release. A lot of people put those in. The magazine release, dunka, 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 is reversible. So if you're a lefty, you can put it over here, no big deal. Once again, something a lot of people do and have done on their custom guns. The frame itself, as I said, is G17 frame. Just your basic G17 17-shot frame, except it's using the, I think, RT2 surface, the rough textured surface, which I think is great. Now, Lipsies, on their custom Larry Vickers Glocks, have been offering this rough textured surface because everybody liked it, except Glock. The other thing you'll notice, much like the Generation 5 Glocks, the finger grooves are gone. It's smooth across here, so no little finger grooves. And I originally said I don't care anything about the finger grooves, right? When I had my custom Glock 19 built by Robard, Gabe Suarez, they said, you want to cut the finger grooves off? I'm like, no, I don't pay any attention to the finger grooves at all. And then when I start handling this gun, I'm thinking, why didn't I cut the finger grooves off? It allows you to place your hand, especially if you have little girly man hands, up a little higher, a little bit more of an undercut in the gun. And you get a little bit better grip. You're not letting your hands shift around just to fit into those finger grooves. So I like it. I like it on the Gen 5 Glocks. I like it on the 19X. The other thing this gun has that I think is really exceptional is a trigger. It may be one of the very first Glocks I haven't immediately raced to my parts bin and changed the trigger on. And that's because the trigger is actually good for a Glock. You notice how we always qualify that when people talk about Glocks? They're like, yeah, that trigger's pretty good for a Glock. For any other gun, it's a piece of crap. But on a Glock, that's not bad. I like the trigger. I like the trigger enough that I don't right now see any reason to replace it after having started shooting it. And that's a pretty big deal for me. If you look in that giant box of Glocks, what you will see is probably one trigger from every major manufacturer. A couple other things to point out to you really quickly. It does not have the typical Glock magazine well there. Sit a little bit more smooth. You also see it's got a lanyard ring. You know why it has a lanyard ring? Because sometimes in combat situations, you want the gun tied to you. You never saw the good, the bad, and the ugly? I actually had a friend who was deployed in New Orleans during the floods, and he told me the one thing he was profoundly happy about was he had a lanyard ring on his Glock that he had added because he dropped his Glock in murky water that probably would kill almost anything. So military likes a lanyard ring. You know, you may not like a lanyard ring. You can take that out, plug something into it. Not a big deal. We open this box. What do you get with it? All right? You get a bunch of magazines, which I think is an excellent thing. It comes with three, count them, 3 magazines, but they're all, I think, call this the coyote color, which is, you know, it's kind of a cross between bronze and brown. I think it'll go with almost any of the darker russet, you know, shooting shirts that you have. Any of you that have those kind of dark tan sneakers, I believe this is going to match up pretty good. But you got these 3, they're G17 magazines. The one with the flat base plate, that's a 17-round G17 magazine. These 2, I think this is really neat from Glock too. They come with the base pad on it, and that base pad gives you 2 more rounds. So if you're in a free state, you get 17, 19, 19. If you're in Colorado, you get 10, 10, 10. If you're in New Jersey, you get to go to jail. So really, if you're in New Jersey, leave. One of the other things you're going to find in this box, the usual stuff. I didn't show you the Glock magazine loader because we all have thousands of them, right? And it's really the only way to load a Glock magazine. And your usual locks and your usual Glocky cleaning kits. It also comes with a whole series of interchangeable back straps, because that was a requirement for the military, because people in the military have different size hands. So basically you've got at least 4 different sets of back straps for the G19X. I will probably never use any of them. When you get your Glock, figure out which one of these you want, because you know what? Sooner or later you're going to throw them all away. Now this strikes me as funny. It may not strike you as funny, because I've spent some time with like Glock collectors, and they're strange. I mean, they'll look at a Glock and go like, oh my God, do you realize that it's like it's minutia. One of the things a friend of mine who collects Glocks told me, and he was really adamant about it, he goes, you gotta buy it. I said, why? And he goes, the box is brown. He goes, this is the first time Glock has ever done a brown box. Well, there you are. You get a gun and they throw in a free brown box.
This week's Triggered is brought to you by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Volquartz and Firearms. Excellence is essential. Taurus USA. Prepare and protect. Rock Island Armory Arms Corps, home of the STK 100.
Here is the $64,000 question, right? Why would you buy this Glock, this G19X, over, say, this Glock, which is a G19? And it's a very good G19. It's one of the ones from Lipsy's. It is a Vickers Glock, which I think are the superior Glocks if you're going to buy a G19. But why would you buy one over the other? Couple of different reasons that I'm going to point out really quickly here. The trigger is better than I ever expected it to be. And an aftermarket trigger is anywhere from $100 to $150 to $200. Everybody replaces them. You do not have to replace the trigger in this gun. It is a good trigger, at least in this one and the ones that I handled earlier at SHOT. Second reason, marksman barrel. If you can eke a little more accuracy out of it without going to an aftermarket barrel, all well and good. Interestingly enough, a lot of aftermarket barrels do not deliver on the accuracy. My choice on my competition gun, my carry gun, is Wilson Combat. The third reason is a little bit bigger grip. You got a G19 grip, and that gives you a little bit more of a hold. You know, you're able to get a little bit better grip on the gun. You can grip a G17 better than you can grip a G19. It's not a really huge difference, but there is a difference, and I can feel it. I can actually feel the difference. And I'm going to just say I love the texturing. Anybody who has a Glock should go with some kind of specialized texturing on it. Again, the sights. Another something that people automatically toss off a Glock. Well, you can get a good set of sights on this. Of course, you can also get a good set of sights on the Lipsy's Glock. These are Vickers, Wilson Vickers sights. I don't mean to constantly plug Lipsy's. They are not a sponsor, but they do good work and they're good friends. So, is this the ideal concealed carry gun? Absolutely not. It's got a longer butt. But I know a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, who carry a G17. It's not an irrational full-size gun to carry. And the G19X has advantages. I will grant you that the internet does not need a reason to start controversy. Apparently it generates it all by itself. Hey, step into the wrong restaurant, boom, it's all over for you. But the G19 lit up the firearms boards. It lit up Facebook. Here's why. Let me explain why. The fanboys, the Glock fanboys, looked at it and said, wait a minute. This is a horrible idea, a horrible idea. It's got a long grip and a short slide. Everybody knows that the slide is irrelevant in concealed carry because the slide is what you put down your pants. It's the grip size that makes a difference if you're carrying the gun concealed. Oh, okay, and you can see from these two Glocks in front of me, that's exactly true. This is a G26. It's one of my fallback carry guns. It's just a lot of rounds to an excellent gun. It's little. You'll see it's got a G26 slide on it. The gun here is my everyday carry. This is my go-to everyday carry gun. It is a half and half job. The upper part, the slide, everything was built by Gabe Suarez. The frame itself was built by Robar. And we took a G19 frame and we cut it to a G26 size. Why did we do that? Well, we did it specifically because it made it easier to conceal. On me, I found it makes it easier to conceal. So, does this render it useless as a concealed carry gun? I have an interesting conundrum for you, and this is the reason I bought this gun. I was talking to Rich Grassi, who of course is the editor of the Tactical Wire, one of the most knowledgeable gun people I've ever known, and my friend for more years than I would count. Rich is one of the people, along with Ed Head, whose opinion I absolutely unconditionally accept. I called up Rich and said, what'd you think of the G19X? He said, hell of a gun. I said, what did you think about the short slide and the long grip? And he goes, let me ask you this, Michael. What is the most popular 1911 ever made? I said, the Colt Commander. And he goes, and what is a Colt Commander? I said, it's a regular 1911 size grip with a shortened slide. He goes, how about that? It's not that big a deal, guys. If you want to conceal this gun, you can conceal it. I look at it and say, man, it's wicked good for competition. I could machine out the top of the side, put in one of those happy Trigicons that you see down there, shoot this puppy and carry optics, and it gives you a little bit more control and you can run it a little bit faster. So that's what the controversy was about. That's why you don't care. I thought I'd show you a little bit of the family tradition of Glocks here. Basically what I have on the table are my favorite Glocks, the ones in front here, the ones that I like the best. And because there's a weird dichotomy when you start talking about shooting and reviewing Glocks, the good news is that they're Glocks. The bad news is that they're Glocks. Glocks tend to shoot like Glocks, very, very much so. Having shot literally hundreds of thousands of rounds to, I don't know, 500 Glocks over the years, aside from the ones that I've owned, what I found is that Glocks tend to shoot like Glocks. Sometimes the triggers are a little heavier, sometimes they're a little lighter. Now I have Glocks here that have much, much better triggers, but they are not carry guns. They're competition guns. With a competition gun, I'm willing to get down to a really light trigger pull. I will not do that on a carry gun because that's definitely something I don't want to happen there. And just a quick caveat, yes, appendix holstering is fast, all those kind of things. Be careful, be careful. Mr. Femoral Artery will thank you on that. But I wanted to just stack this guy up against what I think of are my 3 favorite Glocks. This one is a Lipsy's Glock, and a Lipsy's Vickers Glock. It's got a really nice like gold bead in the front and the Vickers sights on it. It's got the right texture. I'm always going to default to this rough texture surface, even if it sands your clothes off. All right, that's just the way you have to do it. The thing I like on this Glock that really stands out is it has a custom trigger in it from Templar, which basically Dave Spalding, the great Dave Spalding, referred me to them and said they build the best Glock trigger in the world for a carry gun. This, in fact, may be the best Glock trigger in the world for a carry gun. It's right on up there with the very best of them. So it's a gun that I like to shoot because the trigger is great. Once again, another Lipsy's Vickers Glock. This one's gray, so when I'm pretending to be a gray man, invisible to everything in the world, this is the gun I would carry. They changed out, instead of a gold bead, went to fiber optic front sight, always good for old eyes like mine. And considering it is, in fact, a factory trigger, it's not a bad Glock trigger. This is, in fact, we actually did a whole show on this gun. That is the best Glock that I own, in terms of just flat out. And it is a Wilson Combat Custom G19. We talked about, there's a whole show about it. I don't have to take you through this gun. What this gun is from my standpoint, for a carry pistol, perfect. It is accurate, has a Wilson Combat barrel fitted to it. It has a trigger pull that works extremely well for carry, and it has absolutely this wonderful starburst texturing, which can turn any Glock into a really grippy surface. So when I shoot this guy, he's got some pretty high standards to live up to. So in the end, what kind of verdict am I going to give the Glock 19X? I'm not sure. It shoots extremely well, and part of that is that G17 grip. Once again, I'm probably not going to go and say this is my ideal carry gun, because as you can see with my G26 and my own G19/26, I've shortened the butt. However, I look at this as a potential competition gun, and it's kind of breathtaking. The first person that broached that with me was the guys at Overwatch Precision, who said, you know what, that G19X put a Trijicon sight on it, and it is a monster USPSA competition gun, and I think it may well be that. In the end, I'm going to keep this gun. It's something a little different. I don't want you to call me a Glock collector. Maybe I'm a Glock accumulator. But I think this is a very good gun. I think it's accurate. I think they were able to squeeze a little accuracy out of it. I think Glock, out of the box, got the trigger right. They got the sights right. And come on, what more are you going to want?